Over the last few weeks, I spent time reflecting deeply on something important. In the previous season of this podcast, we explored sales chaos. We explored why many MSMEs feel trapped in unpredictability, why founders feel emotionally exhausted, why revenue fluctuates, why teams become dependent on constant founder intervention, and why growth often feels unstable even when effort levels are extremely high. And during that reflection, one thought became very clear to me. Before a founder tries to scale sales, before introducing CRM systems, before hiring more salespeople, before increasing marketing budgets, there is one deeper question that must be understood first. And that question is, what does a sales system actually mean? Because over the years, I have realized something very interesting. Most MSMEs do not actually have a sales system. What they usually have is a few experienced people, some relationships, some follow-up habits, founder involvement, and a lot of hope. And as long as the founder is heavily involved, as long as the experienced salesperson remains in the company, as long as a few loyal customers continue placing repeat orders, everything appears stable. But the moment pressure increases, the moment a senior salesperson leaves, the moment the founder becomes unavailable or the market slows down, the hidden weakness suddenly becomes visible. And this is where many founders realize we were running sales, but we never designed sales systems. Hi everyone, this is Abani and welcome to the MSME Growth Hub podcast, and today we are beginning season 9. The new theme for this season is designing the sales system founder view. In the previous season, we focused on clarity. This season, we move into architecture, not motivational sales thinking, not sales hacks, not aggressive growth strategies, but something deeper. How founders can think structurally about sales. Because in my own experience across more than 3 decades in sales leadership, including leading large sales ecosystems, managing distributors, handling system integrators, and driving significant revenue responsibility in corporate environments, I noticed something repeatedly. Whenever sales became emotionally dependent on individuals, the business eventually became unstable. And interestingly, the same thing happens inside MSMEs. Only the scale changes, the psychology does not. In large corporates, I have seen teams panic when one strong sales leader exits. And in MSMEs, I have seen entire revenue systems become fragile when everything depends on the founder. Different scale, same structural problem. And that is why today's episode is extremely important, because unless founders redefine what a sales system actually means, they will continue solving symptoms instead of designing stability. Now let us go deeper. Most founders imagine a sales system as CRM software, reporting structures, dashboards, sales SOPs, follow-up trackers, or review meetings. But those are not sales systems. Those are components. A true sales system is something much deeper. A sales system is a repeatable decision-making structure that allows revenue generation to happen with clarity, visibility, and consistency. Let me repeat that slowly. A sales system is a repeatable decision-making structure that allows revenue generation to happen with clarity, visibility, and consistency. A sales system is not merely a process, it is a repeatable decision-making structure, meaning people inside the business know what to do, when to do it, why it matters, what defines progress, and how sales moves from one stage to another, without emotional confusion, without daily improvisation, without founder firefighting. And this is where many MSMEs unknowingly struggle, because sales inside many businesses is still personality driven. One salesperson follows up aggressively, another follows up casually. One person qualifies leads emotionally, and another person discounts immediately. One founder gets deeply involved in negotiation, another avoids difficult customer conversations completely. So what happens? Sales outcomes become inconsistent. And when outcomes become inconsistent, founders start increasing pressure. More reviews, more targets, more follow-up, more monitoring. But pressure cannot replace design. And this is one of the most important insights I learned during my corporate sales leadership years. Whenever leadership increased pressure without fixing structural clarity, the short-term numbers sometimes improved, but long-term stability weakened. Because teams became emotionally reactive, and I have seen similar patterns now while interacting with MSMEs. Founders often believe if my team becomes more active, sales will improve. But activity without architecture creates exhaustion, not stability. Now, here is another important distinction. Many founders confuse effort with system. A founder may personally work 12 to 14 hours daily. The team may be extremely hardworking. Everyone may genuinely care. But hard work alone does not create predictability. Structure creates predictability. And this becomes extremely important once the business crosses a certain size. Because when the business is small, the founder's memory itself becomes the system. The founder remembers which customer needs follow-up, which deal is delayed, who promised what, which distributor needs attention, which quotation is pending. But as complexity increases, memory stops scaling, emotion stops scaling, heroics stop scaling. And this is the stage where founders begin feeling overwhelmed. Now, let me share something very practical. During advisory interactions with MSMEs, I often notice founders saying things like, "My team is working hard, but somehow revenue still feels unstable." Or, "We are getting inquiries, but conversion feels unpredictable." Or, "Everything depends on me." Now, interestingly, these are not usually sales effort problems. These are architecture problems. And architecture problems cannot be solved emotionally. They must be designed thoughtfully. This is where the founder's role becomes extremely important, because founders often make one major mistake. They delegate sales execution before designing sales clarity, and that creates invisible chaos. Imagine trying to scale a factory without defining quality standards, or trying to scale finance without defining approval structures. It would become unstable immediately. Yet, many businesses try scaling sales without defining qualification logic, ownership clarity, decision visibility, stage progression, communication alignment, and accountability rhythm. And then founders become surprised when sales becomes inconsistent. Now, another important insight: a sales system does not remove human relationships, it protects them. This is very important because many MSME founders fear systems. They feel if sales becomes too structured, relationships will become mechanical. But actually, the opposite happens. Good systems reduce emotional confusion, and when emotional confusion reduces, relationships improve. Customers receive better continuity, better follow-up, clearer communication, faster responsiveness, and more confidence. In fact, one of the biggest shifts I noticed in structured sales environment was this: customers stop depending emotionally on one individual. They start trusting the organization itself. And that is a very different level of business maturity. Now let us look at another common misconception. Many founders think we need more leads. Sometimes, yes. But many times the business does not have a lead problem. It has a sales system clarity problem. Because if qualification is weak, follow-up rhythm is inconsistent, ownership is unclear, and pipeline visibility is poor, then increasing leads only increases chaos, not growth. This is similar to pouring more water into a leaking pipeline. The volume increases, but stability does not. And this is why in this season we will go much deeper into sales architecture, founders psychology, sales visibility, accountability design, sales cadence, CRM timing, sales ownership, and long-term sales maturity. Because stable sales is not luck, it is designed. And founders who understand this early usually suffer far less emotional exhaustion during scaling. Now, before I close, let me leave you with one important reflection. Ask yourself honestly: if you stepped away from daily sales involvement for 30 days, would your business still generate predictable sales moment? not because people are loyal, but because the system itself has clarity. That answer will tell you whether you currently have sales activity or a sales system. And that distinction changes everything. Thank you for joining me today as we begin season 9 of the MSME Growth Hub podcast. Over the coming episodes, we will slowly move deeper into how founders can design sales systems that create predictability, clarity, confidence, and long-term business maturity, not through pressure, not through noise, but through thoughtful design. If this episode made you reflect differently about your business, do follow the podcast and share it with another founder who may also be trying to stabilize sales while scaling responsibly. And if you are listening on YouTube, subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments at this stage of your business what feels more difficult, generating sales or creating predictability in sales. You may also share this episode with fellow MSME founders and leadership teams who are trying to move from sales chaos to sales clarity. Until next time, stay thoughtful, stay structured, and keep building with clarity.